Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Makakwadash. And I want to say Shalom to brothers and sisters out there pursuing this truth diligently. Come at you once again with another lesson. Now, I have this one just titled simply as Reincarnation. And, it's really kind of I guess you would say in a way it's a milk lesson. Yesterday while I was making that lesson, the topic of reincarnation came up, and I wanted to, I stated that I wanted to make a lesson about it. And I made them in the past, and I made them before. This one's a pretty simple one. I don't want to call it bare bones because nothing in the scripture is bare bone. But it's simple. It's milk. It's meant for those that are just coming in as we're getting into Jacob's trouble. There's still going to be some people that are waking up before Jacob's trouble really kicks off in full force. So, there's still a little bit of time left, so those people that might be confused about some things, still have time, all right? But now's not the time to be tearing. Now's not the time to be, dilly-dallying. But I want to do a simple lesson on reincarnation. That's probably what I'll title it, is a simple, if I could type right, a simple lesson on reincarnation. Okay? Because there's a lot of people that don't know that reincarnation is in the Bible. And there's a lot, all right? There's a lot of scriptures that you could go and grab. There's a lot of things to get. But I wanted to basically, get these 4 scriptures in the most simple way, the most irrefutable way, and, quickest to show you that, hey, reincarnation is a biblical concept. All right, because there's nothing in the Bible that is false. Okay, and if you think that the Bible's false, or it's what's the word? There's I'm trying to think of the word for it. Contradictions. All right, then you're not in the right spirit. All right, because there's no contradictions. There's just misunderstandings. Okay, and not of the Bible, but of people that are trying to read the Bible. Okay, it's not the Bible. People say, "Oh, that's a contradiction." Oh, the Bible contradicts itself. You don't understand, terminology throughout the Bible, and that's why you happen to come to the thought that, oh, it's a contradiction. It's not a contradiction, right? That's why you got to learn your words. You got to learn your definitions. All right, you got to go into the Hebrew. You got to go into the Greek, and you got to do your due diligence and search these things out. Because if you don't, it may seem that there is a contradiction, okay? But there's not. It's just a lack of understanding, okay? So you can't you can't blame the Bible for your lack of understanding, okay? Your lack of understanding is because, one way or another, all right, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai hasn't revealed, the truth behind the scripture to you, whether it be you don't have the Holy Spirit, or you're just waking up, so you're slowly building it, and you got the Holy Spirit dealing with you a little bit, but you kind of you're in that early stage of in and out, so you don't know a lot of things, and you don't really want to be like that. You want to stick with it and continue in the truth, and eventually you'll learn that there's no contradictions. It's just lack of understanding. So as I've changed the title to, it's a simple lesson on reincarnation. I don't know how long we're going to go, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, I'm not necessarily sure. But I got 4 scriptures here that are going to, Lord willing, edify and, prove the fact of the matter that reincarnation is a biblical concept. All right, and to open that, we're going to go with Ezekiel 8 and 20, and, and we're going to, in Exodus 20 and 5, but we're going to preface Exodus 20 and 5 with Ezekiel 8 and 20 to show you. Now, this is something that they would consider a contradiction, okay? So, and we're going to prove how that's not the case. So let's go and get Ezekiel 8 and 20. We got it already up here. Now, it reads, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. Okay, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. So, the soul, is a person. We are made up of a soul. We're just in this fleshly body. So, who we are, all right, us that sin, all right, we shall die. Okay, as it says, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. So going back up, so the soul that sinneth, it shall die. So if I was to sin, I would be punished for that sin, all right? It wouldn't be my father, all right? It wouldn't be my cousin. It wouldn't be my mother. It would be me. If I sin, all right, willfully, all right, the only people that are going to be punished for that is me, okay? Now, and unless, in a situation, you might say, oh, there's another contradiction because it talks about, if you don't correct somebody, then the blood's on your hand. Well, that's a little bit different, all right? If you know when someone's going off and you haven't, corrected them multiple times before on something, or some things, because there's certain points where you got to just cut the person off, right? A man that is a heretic after the first and second admonition, reject, all right? So if someone, you say, hey, man, you're smoking, you shouldn't be doing that, and they say, all right, and then you see them smoking again, you say, hey, man, you shouldn't be smoking, stop that, and then they do it again. And then next thing you know, you see them, committing adultery, and you say, hey, man, you shouldn't be committing adultery. Next thing you see them doing is eating pork. After a while, you're not going to, just call out every single thing they're doing. You're going to write them off as a heretic, man. This person's, an unbeliever. He's wicked. He's not going to get it. He or she, right, because it can be a she as well. And just, just write them off, all right? There's no point to keep on correcting a person, if a dog keeps on shitting on the floor, what's the point of correcting them the 738th time? They're obviously going to keep shitting on the floor, right? It'd be best to get away from that dog, right? Or get rid of it, right? Because it obviously ain't going to learn, all right? It doesn't have the capacity. So there's some people that are like that. They're just not going to get it. And, if there's someone that you see, you can give them that warning, and you have to make sure it's in a circumspect, it's coming from a circumspect place. If your boss is doing something, you can't be like, hey, boss, the Lord's going to kill you. If you... No, there's certain people you just don't tell, man. There's certain people you don't tell. Your landlord, all right? Don't be, bucking up with your landlord, all right, and saying, hey, man, I saw you come over here to collect my rent and smoking a cigarette. The Lord's going to kill you for smoking that cigarette. Don't you know? Look, man. There's certain things that you just, use circumspection, all right, being wary and unwilling to take risks. You say something and try to do something with someone who rents your property, who you're renting from, you might just not have a house, okay, even though you want to correct them, right? A lot of these people already got spirits and demons on them anyway because they're doing those things, right? So, but the person, so yeah, you should correct somebody, because if you know someone and they're, have an interest in the truth or something, and you don't correct them for what they're doing, yeah, their blood's going to be on your hand, because you could have helped that person, right? By, giving them, giving them the scriptures, all right? Not, absolutely going in a full force rebuke, at first, you got to temper your spirit, okay? Don't come in, at a 1,001 degrees, man. Come in first at a regular, a regular temperature, man. And say, hey, man, I saw that you were smoking. Hey, did you know that the Bible says you ain't supposed to smoke? And then see how they act. If they completely blow up, be done with them. All right, be done with them. All right, they're obviously not going to get it. Okay, but if they say, oh, it does. Yeah, man. Let me get you a couple scriptures and show you. About, you can get the ones talking about not putting a stick to your nose. You can get another one about the witchcraft and dealing with what witchcraft is, and pharmakeia, getting into the Greek, and then you could go on and get about polluting your temple as well, right? If they're receptive, and hey, they may or may not get it. All right, but if they're receptive, they can, you can at least pass that on to them. If they fully receive it, they fully receive it. If they don't, they don't. All right, but the person over there says, hey, man, did you know that? Hey, fuck you, motherfucker. Mind your own fucking bit. All right, hey, man, didn't mean to offend. My bad. I was just trying to help you. All right, and then move on from there, right? Because they're obviously not going to get it. They're obviously not going to get it. But the person that's doing that guy, all right, that is smoking that cigarette, you're not going to die because he keeps smoking that cigarette. You warned him, said, hey, man, you stop doing it. He said, I'm going to keep doing it, motherfucker. You're not going to die because he continues to do it. Why? The soul that sinneth, it shall die. He's the one committing the sin. He's the one that's going to be punished for it, right? And continuing on, it says, the son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. So say you got a father, and, he's doing drugs, or he's popping married women on the side, or he's a closeted homosexual or something, right? And you're not going to be punished for what, your father does, okay? In the same way that if you're doing those things, he's not going to be punished for what you did. You know, you can't say, you know, in this society, they say, oh, you were a bad parent. It's not always like that, man. You might have been a nice, well, nice means foolish, but you might have been a good parent. All right, you were firm, but not too firm. All right, you helped him build emotions, but not become emotional. All right, you right from wrong, and let them understand the differences between right or wrong. You know, instilled biblical values with them, and they grow up, they go to school or wherever they go. You know, for some reason you weren't able to homeschool them. All right, and it's preferred if you could homeschool your kids, but you know, if you can't, you're not a bad parent. Right? And they go to school, they hang around some kids that are some YNs, and now you come home, fuck you, dad. You ain't shit, bitch. What you gonna do? Right? And now all of a sudden, because they're hanging around their friends, now you got a YN as a son. All right? And it's not anything that you did. It's just how they are. You know, you just because you raise your son right or your daughter right, it doesn't mean that he or she is not going to be the 2/3. Just because you are potentially part of the elect doesn't mean that your children are going to be. And that's a harsh reality that a lot of people have to realize. So you can do everything in your control. All right, and that's the hint. Everything in your control to, you know, make these kids raise up right, and they'll still buck up and turn into YNs and harlots. All right, she's getting her fucking, you know, back blown out at recess and shit at fucking 12 years old, being a hoe. Right? You can't do anything. What are you supposed to do? All right, what are you supposed to do in that situation? Or your son, you know, he goes and his friends say, hey man, you want to smoke some weed in the bathroom at 12, 13 years? What are you supposed to do? All right? Now you whoop their ass when you see them, but that ain't gonna change them. All right, that ain't really gonna do anything at the end of the day if that's in their mind. All right, you can't force someone to be godly at the end of the day. If they're wicked, they're wicked. Okay, and that's why this is the way it is. You know, you're not gonna, because your son wants to go do that, or here it is, you did your best to raise your daughter with values, and now she's, you know, getting fucking clapped up by everybody in the whole goddamn town and making you look embarrassed, and now everyone's gonna think, oh, you're a shitty dad. And that's the fact. The reality in the society is that, oh, you're a shitty dad. Look, you can beat your kid. You can say, don't you ever do that shit. Don't you ever, you know, smoke that fucking weed. Don't you ever go and be a harlot or something like that, and they'll still do it. Okay, they'll sneak around and they'll go and do it. In this society, they'll say, oh, you're bad for that. And I mean, it's been like that. I mean, because that's people's first reactions, right? Even biblically, you know, it talks about women doing that and bringing shame upon, you know, the father, right? And, you know, and really upon the nation, right, of Israel, be doing that stuff. She's ashamed to who she is as a people, right? As it says, there shall be no sodomite of the sons of Israel, and there shall be no is it harlot? There shall not be no harlot or of the daughters of Israel, roughly paraphrasing. So, you know, and because you know you don't, and it talks about putting away evil from you know the nation, because you don't want to, you know, if you have all these like what Jake's doing now with all this robbing and stealing and shit, they've made Jake look bad. All right, now everybody sees black and brown, and they say, oh, criminals, and blah, 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 blah. And that's why, you know, the Lord in biblical times had that on lock. Because, you know, if you keep on doing those things, adultery and all these things, the whole nation's going to look bad. People are just going to associate you with, you know, if they see, you know, and especially with Esau, they're going to chalk you off as a one race of people. Right, and everybody does that. I can't just say it's Esau, all right, because, you know, if you see people doing behavior routinely, you're going to chalk it off to that's just how they are as a people. Like Esau routinely likes to go and get with little kids and sneak little kids and have shit like Epstein Island. So you're going to assume that all of them are like that. And that'd be, you know, I wouldn't say it wouldn't be an unfair assumption, right? So that's why you got to really nip that in the bud. Okay, you can't allow that you can't allow that to bud and to flower as you know, nip it in the bud before it, you know, flowers. You want to nip it in the bud before it, you know, it grows and it becomes something, you know, here it is, it's a molehill, and now it's turned into a mountain, right? You want to cut that. So you want to make sure that, you know, as best as possible, you stop those things, but at the end of the day, look, if there's some things that you just can't help. There's nothing you can do to prevent your son going to school. You could beat his ass and talk about not doing that and instill how bad that is to him and try to instill the fear of the Lord into him. And he goes and his friend offers him a joint. He just hits it anyway. There's nothing you can do about that at the end of the day. You're not in the bathroom to beat his ass that day, hit him in the stomach, say, hey, motherfucker, put that down. Don't you ever do drugs. You're going to fuck up your life. All right, you can't do that. So and he could come home and he could have showered at the locker rooms in the gym, right? It doesn't even smell like anything. You would never know what he's doing. Your daughter could be hoeing around on the DL. You would never know, right? And that doesn't necessarily make you a bad parent. So that's why you're not going to be punished for what they do, because you can't control everything your kids do, man. These kids are out of control. You say, hey, don't drink that in the fridge. You go there and it's been drunk. All right, hey, man, don't eat any of this meat. I'm saving it for tomorrow's meal. And they'll eat it anyway, right? We all know how we were as kids, all right? We all know how we were as kids, man. All right, hey, don't eat those cookies in the cupboard. What did your ass do? Go and get in those cupboards and eat those cookies? And then what? You got your ass whooped. Did you learn your lesson? Barely, right? So Ezekiel 18:20, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father. Now the iniquity, what is iniquity? Iniquity is sin upon sin. And really what iniquity means is wickedness, all right? Evil, all right? Evil, wickedness, corruption, okay? And the breaking of the law, all right? Mind you, which is sin? Sin is whoever transgresseth the law committeth sin, for sin is the transgression of the law, okay? Roughly paraphrasing. So when you sin, you are transgressing the law. What is transgressing? Transgressing is stepping beyond the confines of. Okay? You are stepping. The Lord said, don't cross this line, and you cross the line. That's what transgression or transgressing is stepping upon a line that has been set, going beyond a boundary that has been set. Okay? You've transgressed. All right? The Lord said, don't do this, and you went it anyway. You've sinned. You've committed sin. All right, an act of wickedness. The Lord's going to pay you back for that lest you repent. Okay? So, the soul that sinneth, this shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him. So those that are doing wellness is going to be upon them. It says, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. So those that do wickedness, the wickedness is going to come upon them. It's like the parable talking about, those that plan iniquity, even as I have seen, those that plan iniquity, sow wickedness and plan iniquity reap the same. All right, it's kind of in that same thing. If you plant a grape, you can't be surprised when all of a sudden grapes start sprouting up. All right, if you plant apples, you can't be surprised when an apple tree pops up. When you do wickedness, you can't be surprised when wickedness comes upon you. Okay, so that's just how it goes, man. But a lot of people, think that, this, that, and the other. No, man. It's if the son does something wicked, that's his wickedness. That's upon him. Okay? And you have like the church said, up until 12 years old, the sins go upon the mom. All right, or whatever. I heard a brother talk about it. I never grew up in the church like that, but I think it was Elder Manata Zatba, that talked about it. I don't know if it's every church or just his church, up until you're 12 years old. I think that's what he said, sins go upon your mom. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, right? That in this scripture, that shows you the Christians don't know what they're talking about, because Ezekiel 18:20 proves it right here. Okay? It isn't like this world where, the Lord acquits people of a certain age. That's not how it works. Okay? The wickedness of the wicked shall be upon them. Okay? If you're wicked, you're wicked. And that's the other thing why people don't understand reincarnation, and they, when they see an 8-year-old get shot up, they say, what God would do this? All right, a Lord that has a law and a pattern and has told you what happens, and you just did the shit anyway. That's why, these children don't fear the Lord. They're just children. All right, well, the children at 4 years old, not 5 years old, not to jump in a fucking pit of flames, okay? They know not to do that, okay? But they don't know to fear the Lord. All right, they know not to take a knife and start stabbing themselves in the guts with it, but they don't know how to fear the Lord. All right, they know not to fucking sit face down in a bathtub, but they don't know how to fear the Lord, right? It's ridiculous, man. You give these kids too much credit, right? Children, not kids, because they use that term because it's really, a kid is a goat, a sacrificial goat, really. So, you give these children, all right, these churns, all right, you give these churns way too many damn fucking leeway. They can do anything in this society. They can go rob a bank and shoot it up at 10. Well, they're just kids. They didn't know no better. They didn't know no better? Hell, I knew at 10 years old not to do that. All right, with these kids, I know these kids are dumb these days, but shit, man, I don't know what they put in these little shotaroonies, all right, these little shotaroonies, all right, these little, right, in the arms, right. We don't know what they put in them, but it must have been some crazy shit. Me and my wife were talking about the other day. She came up with that because I didn't even really think about that. She says whatever they're putting in those skits, all right, you could read between the lines. Whatever putting those skits, right? That little, that little sharp little pointy thing that goes in your skin and it shoots out liquid, all right? And, it does something to the cells in your body, right? She was saying, whatever they're putting in those things these days, it must have been, they must have been testing on each generation, all right? Because every generation has a different thing. All right, I said it could be that, along with television and stuff like that, because I'm from the millennial generation, which the millennial generation, we're known for being way overly sexualized. All right, you got to realize we're the same generation that came across porn at like 7, 8 years old, because it was the internet generation, the first full generation that was basically not basically raised on the internet, pretty much. I would say basically raised on the internet, because the internet was around since we were born. All right, it started coming out in the late 80s, early 90s. So pretty much a lot of the millennials had it, if maybe not from very, very little, but it popped up to when they were in there, 7, 8, right? And from there, some people were raised by the internet. I necessarily wasn't. I was on the internet a lot, but I went outside and did stuff. So we were the last generation that actually had a mix, I would say, the millennials. We actually had outside and we had inside with the computers. We were more social with it. Like I mentioned this before, with the social of computers. You go and message somebody, hey, I'm going to go to so-and-so's house, and we're going to go to the mall later. Ask your mom if you can come. And you'd message that on, like, MySpace, right? And then it hit you on the flip phone or whatever, and you'd message, like, 3 things because you're not trying to use your minutes. C, it'd be, like, C, the actual letter C, and then it'd be a U, the actual letter U, and it'd be, like, there, all right, or CULATR, all right, later. And then you'd go there and you'd meet up and you'd hang. But you'd use the technology, but you wouldn't abuse the technology. Now these kids they'll be in the same room texting each other, right? But, yeah, man, so, we were like the generation that really, the internet porn was a thing, the rotten.com, early exposure to, seeing people's face get blown off and shit, and the next video you see is a woman getting her back blown out. Yeah, that shit, that'll, like, make you cynical, and it'll, like, make you overly sexualized. It'll make you put, dark thoughts in you, and then also over sexualize you. So that's why you see millennials, they're a lot of over sexualized, a lot of hoes. And, this generation, it was stupidity and homosexuality, right? So you see a lot of that. You see, that's why you got the Gen Z stare. And they don't know how to communicate, and those people who, the Gen Z stare doesn't exist. Well, you're bullshitting, all right? I've seen it personally, okay? Okay? So there's people that I know that are Gen Z, and they even agree, yeah, it's a fucking thing, right? And it's because that fucking lockdown fucked your brain up. All right, these kids are the age, these were the ones that were like, 10, 11 during the shutdown, man. And they don't know how to look people in the eye. Me and my wife went to Chipotle like fucking 2 weeks ago, and we were waiting, they have the little bag where you get your shit, and, you go in there to grab your little paper bag, and it's off on the side of the wall or something. Or sometimes, depending on where you're at, they might have it like behind the counter, and they like where they're prepping it, where the food prep is, and they'll grab that for you. And we were standing there, and these 2 motherfuckers in front of us looked at us like, I don't know, they must have seen a ghost or something. They looked at us like, their mouth, let me go and show you a picture of what this shit looked like. It wasn't even like that. It was like this. This was the one. Right? This motherfucker, this guy turned around and was like looking at it like this, and he and it wasn't because back in the day you'd say, oh, mad dog. He wasn't mad dogging. Mad dogging, there's anger in the eyes. Gen Z, there's nothing. It's just a blank. It's just this. This is actually it actually almost looks kind of like the motherfucker. Him and his girl stirred just like this. It kind of looks like when you pull a fish out the water. Let's see, fish. You can just look up a fish. They kind of stare at you like this, right? They just turn around and they just they just be looking at you like this, right? They just looking at you just like this, all right? This motherfucker turns around and this is all you see, all right? I was just like fucking fish looking ass, right? Over here just, and I'm like, what the fuck? And they both did it for like, it must have been like 10 seconds. And I just stared them in their eyes. I just looked at them right into their soul. And they finally turned around, right? Because we were waiting in line. They were in line ahead of us. So we were waiting in line. They turn around. They give us that look like that fucking fish. And me and my wife are just like looking. And then they turn around. And we look at her. The look, the couple look. You look like, what the fuck? I looked at her. She looked at me. I was like, what the fuck was that all about? we got out in the car. As soon as we got out the door, we started talking shit, man. We were like, what the fuck was that? Those guys, that's a Gen Z stare. I told her, I was like, that's a fucking Gen Z stare right there, man. That's a fucking Gen Z stare. It's perturbing, man. It's perturbing, disturbing. All right, however you want to say it. Perturb is the same thing, but it's off-putting. It's like, what the fuck? It's like this motherfucker's looking right through you. You know, it's like you can, like, they're like, they don't know, right? Like it's just like there's no brain, there's no lifelessness on the other side, man. I'm like, what the fuck? A weird ass motherfucker. Turn around, right? Just turn around. Fucking staring at me, just making me uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I'd rather be Mad Dog. Shit, I'd rather have you look at me like Ice Cube with a fucking lip all stuck up at the corner. At least I know you have some emotion. At least I know some brain processing. You might kick my ass or something. You're over here with the Gen Z stare. You make me uncomfortable. I'm like, can I help you? What's going on? You need some help? Are you all right? But shit, man. You know, these people, you know, this generation, like I said, is homosexuality, stupidity, and like just weird, man. They're just weird, you know. Every generation had its thing, you know. The boomers are entitled, all right, but they're strong, all right. I'll give them that. You know, that generation can whoop some ass, all right, for the most part, or at least used to be able to at one point. Come on, man. But you got the Gen X, all right. That's a strong ass motherfucking generation right there too. All right, they don't give a. That's a generation that don't give a shit right there. I think millennials don't give a shit. Man, you got Gen X. They had to deal with those boomers as a parent, and boomers, you know, they're very entitled people. All right, they're very entitled because after the baby boom, the economy's great. They thought everything was great. They got houses for cheap. They got cars for cheap. So now, then they don't know how to associate with anything. So they say, you know, their generation back, they say, oh, these kids don't work hard enough. Meanwhile, you know, you can work the same amount of pay and make less. And you'll say, what? Well, what the fuck's going on with that? Why am I not making as much? Put these motherfuckers back in the workforce, and they after take them out of retirement, put them back. Well, why am I not making as much money? I'm working harder than I ever have. Well, that's just how it works, buddy. Right? You must not be working hard enough. No, I'm busting my ass off. I'm exhausted. No, well, welcome to 2025. So this is Exodus 20 and verse 5. All right. And rippling off of Ezekiel 8 and 20. Remember what it talked about? The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father. Well, this is where people would say a biblical contradiction happens. Nope. Just lack of understanding. Exodus 20 and 5. It says, thou shalt not bow down, talking about idols. Thou shalt not, let me actually get from 4 so I can, there's an Exodus 20 and 4 so we can get the full picture. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Here, let's have a lesson within a lesson. A lot of people say, so you can't do a statue at all. Well, that's not what it's talking about. All right, you can make a statuette of a deer. All right, or a little lion or a giraffe or a little, you know, an image that's graven, right? But here's the point. Exodus 20 and 5, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them nor serve them. So if you're making a little, if you have an action figure or a little, you know, cheetah, wooden cheetah statue or a little metal little statuette of like a giraffe or something, that's fine, all right? But the problem comes when you're like, this is my God, right? This right here is my God. This, I am going to worship this, all right? You know, or how, you know, it's especially bad with the Hindus. The Hindus do a lot more than the Africans do. But, you know, they just, you know, just be worshiping random shit, right? You could throw a paper bag down and they're like, I am going to worship this. This must mean something. It doesn't. It's a fucking paper bag. Pick it up. Throw it away. You know what the trash is? Yeah, those people don't know what the fucking trash is. They don't know what trash is. What is trash? Right? No, that's the African accent. But so some of those African places be dirty as fuck too. It just depends, man. It just depends. Those heathens don't know how to live. All right, the heathens don't know how to live. It's dirty. And Jake, they always try to say Jake's dirty. Jake ain't really too dirty. I mean, I'm sure there's dirty Jake, but you know. Jake's house be smelling like Pine Sol all the time. I don't know how dirty you can be and have it fucking smelling like Pine Sol, Glade, and fucking Pledge 24/7. Some cleaning must be being done. So Exodus 20 and 5, let me stop rambling. It says, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, For I, the Lord, thy God, or thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity, there's that word again, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, until the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So right there, it says, I, the Lord thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So you might say, oh, wait, that's a contradiction. See, it just said what it said previously, that, the son shall not bear the iniquity of the father. Now it says that he's a jealous God, and he's going to visit the iniquity of the fathers upon the children. Well, that's where understanding has to come into play. You have to understand that reincarnation is a thing, and how long, and it gives you the hint right here, how often do we come back? It says the third and fourth generation. Now, you can go and look up, I need to keep this Bible open, but how long is a generation? 20 to 30 years. So 20 to 30 years. So it says here, the third and fourth generation. All right, so 25, because it says 20 to 30, so we'll put it in the middle of 25. So 25 times 3, so the third and fourth generation, so we'll do 3.5, right? So that's on average about 87.5 years, okay? 80, so 25, on average, about 87.5 years. Every 87.5 years we come back. You die, 87.5 years, you come back. Now, it's really, I think last time, it's 75 to 100, right? But if you put that right in the middle, 75 to 100, you're going to get 87.5. So that's the average, right? That's the median. The average, it's 3 and 4 generations is 75. 3 and 4 generations can take, 3 generations is about, roughly could be about 75, and 4 generations about 100. So 75 to 100 years, all right, on average, being 87.5 is when you come back. Okay, it can be a little quicker, it can be a little longer depending on how fast your family gets down, but with this, on average, about 87.5 years. So 87.5. Say you were born in 1995, do minus 87.5, and then do equals. That would be last time you were around would have been, or when you died would have been around, 1907. Okay, so you would have been around, the 80s, 1870s, around when you were, 60s when you were born. I'm bad with math. But, yeah, man, so that's, roughly paraphrasing. So, but it's anywhere from 75, 85 just being the medium. So, say if you were born in 1975, all right, you can minus 75 years from that, all right, obviously. It's going to be 1900, all right? So minus 75, all right, you're going to see 1900. Or you can go to 1975 minus 85, and then you're going to get 1890. Or you can go to 1975 minus 100, minus 100, and you're going to get 1875. So, and so on and so forth, and then you can go, do another 100 years from there, do another 85 years from there, do another 85, all right, another 75, all right, you can kind of track, when you were around, roughly paraphrasing, roughly equating, all right, to, when you would have been around. You just keep doing it, all right, throw in some, variation every once in a while, and, you'll keep going and keep going and keep going, all right? And that's just how it works, right? So 20 to 30 years, so every, so you just put 25 and then times that by 3 to 4, all right, generations. So 3 to 4, so 30, 60, 70, 80, 90, all right? So so 20, 40, 50, 60, so 60 to 90, really, if you really want to get down to it. So it just depends, all right? It just depends. So you're visited unto those days, and why is that? Because you are your father coming back, all right? If your great-great-grandfather was a demon, all right, then you might just be that guy coming back, all right? And that's, that's why you died at 9 years old, All right, because here it was, oh yeah, great-great-grandfather, he's a really evil man. He used to snap the necks off of rabbits for fun, and used to, beat his children with a baseball bat, and he actually killed his first son. Yeah, that's a fucking demon, man. A demon. And the Lord took his ass out, all right, because he's coming back, because he's visiting the iniquity of the father upon that child, all right, and that child, going back through the regeneration, was that guy that the Lord had a bone to pick with, okay? So that's how it works. And again, I can't force you to get the truth. I can't force you to understand, all right, at the end of the day. But again, we just go through the scriptures, and if something resonates, it resonates. Call all Yahweh Shem Yahushai, right? That's how we do it. So we're going to go ahead and get Ecclesiastes 1 and 9 through 11. And this is probably the simplest of... Look, I am playing this. But this is probably one of the simplest of all of the scriptures for reincarnation. This is the quickest way to prove it. But again, it requires a understanding. All right, the Holy Spirit to be dealing with you to understand it. And it's pretty plain once you read it, but there's people that'll deny it. Bear with me. Let me get my charger here. But, yeah, so Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, it says, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. Stop. The thing that was before, it's going to be that in the future as well. Okay, the things of the past are the things of the present and the future. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. Okay? The thing that hath been, the thing that was already before, is that which shall be, is something that's going to be. All right, that's going to come about, all right, in the future. So the past is the future. It says what shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. So what's already been done is going to be done again. Maybe in another flavor, all right, but same sucker, different flavor. All right, you got to realize fast food's already been done in ancient times. No, there wasn't no McDonald's. You're right, there was no McDonald's. But look into Roman fast food, all right? That's where that all came from, okay? That's where all it came from, is frying it up. Think about Roman culture and think about American culture. There's a lot of the same things, all right? Theaters, cultures, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, all right? And that which is done is that which shall be done. Those things were done, and they shall be done, and they've been done, so they are now, all right? So think about it. It says, and there is no new thing under the sun. That's the big kicker. And there is no new thing under the sun. There's no new things under the sun. Nothing is new. All right, are we under the sun? Yes. Are we new? No, because we're under the sun. There's no new thing. We're not new. All right, we've already been of old. All right, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. We were, and now we are again. Right, here we are through the regeneration, as it's called in the Bible. You're not going to see the term reincarnation, but you're going to see the term regeneration. All right, you're going to see, shall live again. All right, rebirth. All right, you're going to see terms like that. You're not going to see the word reincarnation, because reincarnation is a word that is, I'm not even sure if it was around at the time, but incarnate or carnate, carn or going into carn means flesh. All right, or carnate, reincarnate, to be remade in the flesh, to come back in the flesh, reincarnate. All right, that's what that word literally means. All right, carn or carnal as flesh. All right, so or if you reinvent, you are remaking something that was already invented. If you are reincarnating, you're coming back into flesh when you were previously already in the flesh. Reincarnate. Okay, that's what it means. So there's no new thing under the sun. We're under the sun. We're not new. We're coming back reincarnated through the regeneration, as it's called in the Bible. So we're not new. We're not new. Nothing's new. All right, and you might say, oh, TVs. Yeah, we don't have TVs. We have TVs now, and we didn't have TVs in the past, but we had things that were like TV. All right, we had things that served the same purpose. Okay, you got to realize thoughts. All right, and that's the thing. Like, you can't romanticize biblical times and say, oh, well, in biblical times we were a bunch of fucking demons. Okay, some of us. All right, and I'm speaking as on behalf of Israel. Okay. But we weren't perfect then either, all right? We're not perfect now. We weren't perfect back then. Read about Exodus. Read about several of the scriptures that talk about how stubborn that Jake was. I mean, think about it. In the biblical times, we got scattered abroad because of our disobedience to the Lord. Okay? So we were obviously being a bunch of fucking assholes back then. Okay? So you can't say that, oh, no, back in biblical times, you would have been the same asshole that you are now. Okay? And some of us would have been being assholes. Some of us would have been following Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Some of us would have been assholes that stopped being assholes and followed Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Some people followed Yahweh Shem Yahushai, stopped following him, and became assholes. Right? So the same things that are happening now. People coming in the truth that were assholes. People that are in the truth that fall out and go back into being assholes and bug out. Right? It's the same thing. You can't romanticize, biblical times and say, oh, we were being perfect. Moses came up and came the mountain and came back down to see people building the calf to worship instead of the Lord that just delivered them. Okay? You got to think about that. We weren't perfect back then either. The daughters of Israel were still a bunch of fucking hoes. All right? There were still homosexuals. There was homosexual Israelites. There was homosexual Israelite men and women. All right, the kids were being bad. All right, that's why you have scriptures talking about a bad child, a stubborn child would be stoned. Okay, so that's why you have those scriptures, is because if you wouldn't have no thou shalt not steal if people weren't stealing. You wouldn't have no thou shalt not kill if people weren't killing. Okay, the Lord had to make rules because people were fucking doing a bunch of devilish shit, right? Being a bunch of little devils. Okay, so you can't romanticize and say, oh, back in the biblical times, this wouldn't have been. Yes, it would have. Yes, it would have happened. All right, you would have been judged harsher too if you got caught. There would at least been that. All right, if you were caught doing a homosexual act, you would have been put to death. All right, so you can say through that, but did that stop people? No. All right, that's why they had to have those laws and those rules. And if you get caught doing that, you're going to be put to death. Why did they have to have that rule? Because people were doing the shit that they shouldn't be doing, and they had to be put to death for it. If they weren't doing it, then you wouldn't have the laws. If they weren't doing that, you wouldn't even have the Bible. All right, Yahushua would have had to die for the sins. None of this, whatever. I wouldn't have even had to been here speaking on this. Okay, because we would have had Adam would have never sinned. All right, by listening to the woman. All right. She was the first one who sinned, but Adam was also went off by listening to the woman. All right, that's why you men should be careful. If a woman tells you to do something, if it's wicked, don't do it. Okay, don't do it. Don't be subject unto her sin because she wants to try to bring you in with it. No, come on, just steal. We don't have the money. No, bitch. No, we're not doing that. Right? Come on, just take a little bit of groceries. Nope. I ain't doing shit. If you're going to do that, you stay the fuck away from me. I ain't trying to catch a case with you. Right? So, there's nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:10, it reads, is there anything, any, and notice that any is in italics. So, what does it mean when something's in italics? What does it mean when a word is in italics? Okay? So, when a word is in italics, it means it's used for emphasis. To set it apart from a specific reason, like a title or foreign word, or to denote a specific type of term. What do words in italics mean? Words were added for clarity to make the sentence grammatically correct. Nah, not really. Emphasize a word. Okay? Emphasis. All right, emphasis. All right? So, instead of saying, is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? No, is there anything? All right? That's how that would be pronounced in italics. Is there anything? Not, is there anything? No, is there anything? Anything at all? Right? Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? No. As it says, it hath been already of old time, which was before us. Let me read it again. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. It had been already existed, right? You can't say, oh, this is new. Nope, already existed. All right. What about the gun? Had the bow and arrow. Well, what about the bow and arrow? Already had the spear. What about the spear? Already had the stick. What about the stick? Already had the rock. We can keep going, man. All right. It's the same thing. It's just a different flavor. Same sucker, different flavor. All right. What about video game systems? Before video game systems, there was chess. What about chess? Before chess, there was Mancala. All right. Before there was Mancala, I don't know. They're probably drawing in the sand, making some game up. Let's see how far we can run. Right. So, games like that, right? Let's see how far we can run. Or, there was games that, you got to realize they found an ancient, I don't know if it was Israel or Greece, they found dice. Dice, man. Dice. Bones, man. Bones. You just say, Jake back then was probably fucking doing a variety of street craps, right? You know it. They probably were throwing dice, all right? Doing all that, man. Throwing dice, the card games, the cards go back a very, very, very long time. Before you had the modern playing card, you had the tarot card, all right? The tarot card, all right? Or the tarot. It's pronounced tarot, but it has a T. But the tarot card. And tarot cards by themselves are not initially wicked. That's something you got to realize. And that sounds crazy. But no, a tarot card is not initially wicked. Now, in this modern day and age, I wouldn't go and use them. I wouldn't go and buy a pack of them. Right? But they're not wicked by themselves. Right? Tarot was originally as a game. All right? It was a game of tarot. It was just like, a game of poker, a game of Texas Hold'em. They had a special deck. All right? Game of tarot. All right? It was a game. Solitaire, tarot, Aces Wild, all these different games out there, right? All these different games. It was a game. All right? Tarot. People started using those cards for divination. Okay? Trying to tell the future. All right? Using them for witchcraft. Okay? And it's not divination in effect through Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai like it is casting lots. It's on the left-hand side using that shit. And people that say, oh, yeah, well, those tarot cards, they're just wicked in general. You're wicked if you ever even touched a tarot card. Unless you were using them for divination, you're not wicked. Like I said, I wouldn't have them around you because a lot of the cards that now, they are made just for doing that witchcraft shit and trying to foretell the future. Okay? But a tarot card in general is not wicked. It's not until you try to use them to do that it becomes wicked. Theoretically, if you just sat down and played a game of tarot like they did in the old days, you wouldn't be wicked for doing that. Right? And before you say, oh, no, you would be wicked, you wouldn't be because I guess you can't go and play regular playing cards. What is that company? Is it who's that card company, man? It's not Ace, is it? It's Bicycle. If you know that, did you know, and I know because back when I was really young, I don't think I only had my tarot card read once. I was like 8, and this girl, I was over at my uncle's house, she was like, can I read your tarot card? I'm like, sure. Go ahead. I don't know anything about it. I'm like, go ahead. I don't care. And, and that's why you got to instruct your kids. And, my parents, I don't think were even tripping on that because we weren't, like, Christian or anything. They wouldn't have tripped, I don't think, too much anyway. They're like, yeah, man, stay away from that. It's weird stuff. I think that's the most they would have done. But, and my dad probably wouldn't have. I don't know. Because he was kind of into the, some of that stuff for a time being. But, she did it with regular playing cards, all right? Because you can do it with regular playing cards. It's called, I think it's called, what is it? Something Mancy. Claromancy? Is it Claromancy? Cardomancy? Something like that. You can look it up. And you don't have to have tarot cards for it, all right? People like using tarot cards, but you can use a regular deck of cards. So I guess you can't play poker either because it'd be wicked to have those hands of cards. It's about how you use it, man. All right? You're not wicked for having a deck of tarot cards that you use if you just really love the game tarot. Now, am I going to look at you sideways? Because yes, I'm probably going to look at you sideways if you have it because you're going to have to do some explaining because how many motherfuckers are out there playing tarot? Not a lot. Most people that have tarot cards is because they're doing some fucking tarot card readings. That cardomancy, that fucking divination, that fucking witchcraft. That's what they're doing with it, all right? But if you explain, hey, man, I'm really into old shit, and I really like playing tarot. I'm like, all right, okay. I'm going to probably keep an eye on you. I'm going to see if you play those games. But if you truly mean it, hey, no harm, no foul, right? But you best not be doing those readings. But, yeah, man, I mean, it's, there's a lot of, it's the same thing with sage, or Palo Santo. Yeah, people on the left hand can use those for witchcraft and spells and all these things, but we use it for Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. It's an herb that the Lord placed, all right, or a tree that the Lord placed, and through Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, we can use that to, clear out, bad demons and energies and stuff like that. You got to realize that the Palo Santo means holy wood. It's holy wood. Holy, all right? through Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Not, but if you're going to go and use some shit for some Santa Maria, then yeah, of course it's going to be wicked, man. All right, and you can't say, "Oh, I'm just using this Ouija board on the right hand side, brother." No, man, there ain't nothing good. That's necromancy. Necromancy's never good, right? Never good, right? Well, I was using tarot cards, but I was just trying to use the tarot cards to figure out, when the Lord was going to come back and when Jacob's trouble. Nah, man, you're bugged out. There's that motherfucker that was doing tarot cards. No, man, bugged out. Buggedout. Bugged out. All right, you need to calm the fuck down with all that bugged out nonsense, man. So no, you gotta look into the way you're moving, man. All right, think about it, right? Anyway, there's nothing new under the sun. Anyway, going off on a rant, but yeah, man. So you can't be over here, thinking, I'm gonna use this on the right hand. Now, certain things that are just bugged out, can't do it, right? And that you have to learn your own, use your own discernment, right? So, let's get 2nd Esdras 14:35, and then we're going to close out. And this one's pretty simple too. So, 2nd Esdras 14:35, this is the only one that I got that's outside of the normal KJV. So, you got 3 that are in the KJV. And, this one, this isn't in the Bible. Well, originally it was, but we understand what you're going with. You don't have the knowledge and understanding. You don't realize that the Apocrypha was in the Bible before it got removed. Well, go ahead and look up the Protestants removed Apocrypha from Bible. Go ahead and look that up. Look up, was the Apocrypha in the Bible before it got removed? Go and look that up. Or was the Apocrypha ever in the Bible? Go and look that up. Because it was in the 1611 Bible. All right, you can go and look that up. All right, it was actually in there, but they removed it. All right, the Protestants removed it. All right, really a Bible destruction group is really what it was. All right, and they wanted it removed because it gives away too much information that they don't want known. Okay, so 2nd Esdras 14:35, it reads, "For after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again." If you die and then you live again, what is that? That's reincarnation, right? "When we shall live again, and then shall the names of the righteous be manifest, and the works of the ungodly shall be declared." It's simple, man. Point blank. All right? A simple lesson on reincarnation. I don't know how long it went, but probably a little longer than I expected to go, and that's A-okay. That's fine with me. So, yeah, man, some simple scriptures. The simplest way that I could think of to, break down reincarnation without making it too complicated for those that are new. A lot of time, like I said, I'm not super well versed on reincarnation. There's a lot of brothers that are more learned and instructed upon it. Every brother has their areas of expertise. Reincarnation is not one of mine. So there's brothers that the apostles can really get in that deep and make it make milk into meat. Really, all right. Take that milk and build upon it to where it basically becomes meat. And you really got to chew it up and understand it, because it can get deep. This is a simple lesson on reincarnation, all right, that shows you that the concepts are there, okay, and that's it, okay? If you can't get it from these, it's unlikely that you'll get it, even if they go into it deep, because if you can't get, especially with Ecclesiastes 1:9, okay, if you can't understand that there's nothing new and that we are something, so we can't be new, then I don't, it might be a lost cause trying to teach you that reincarnation is a biblical topic, right? But those that can understand, hey, that's great. Call all Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. May you continue in this truth, all right, and learn more. And, may we continue to learn more as well, all right, that have been in this truth, all right, the ones that have been in this truth and the ones that are just waking up now. May we continue and grow and learn in our knowledge, and may we be part of the elect and make it out here safely, right? So that's a simple lesson on reincarnation. Lord, when it was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing, shalom.